Oh no, Twins stink again. They dropped game 2 versus Detroit. Final score 4-0. What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Twins postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. That's the man. Sweet Lou Hennessy. Give him a follow on X at Sweet Lou MN. Lou, this team, this ball club, if you can even call them that. They've lost 6 of their last 7. They're now 4-11. Where are you at? You've watched baseball your whole life. Still way too early to panic, or are we starting to perspirate a little bit here? Is it getting warm in Rocco's office yet, or what's the temp? What's the temperature of this team right now? 15 games into the season.
Whew, yeah, it is getting steamy. That's for sure. I tend to lean on the optimistic side, and
Sure.
that part of me right now is saying it's still so early, but the part of me that has my eyes open and is watching these games that are not leaving much, to the imagination here is it's a tricky balance that we find ourselves in with our dear Minnesota Twins ball club here in 2025.
Well, and I know we'll talk about it. I think we talked about, though, you and I last week, where it's like it'd be different. It'd be a different vibe and different feel if they're losing, 4-3 and extras. Oh, heartbreaker. But at least they put up a good fight. When you can't score any runs, probably not winning any games. Lots to get into. Again, Twins bats seem to be officially broken. Plus, Chris Paddock's day on the mound. That was pretty solid. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So again, Twins, they're skidding. They're skidding fast. Losers of 5 of their last 6 heading into today. This was game 2 versus the Tigers. And again, Chris Paddock on the mound. Chris Paddock was pretty solid. 5 innings of work, 2 hits, 1 earned run. Gotta like that. Problem was, once again, just 0 juice in this lineup. 4 hits on the day for this team. 0 runs scored. No batter with more than 1 hit on the day. 6 of the 9 batters in the lineup. 0 hits on the day. And again, you're just not going to win many games when you can't score any runs. So they lose this game 4-0. Again, they dropped to 4-11 on the year. Lou, what was your just kind of biggest takeaways? Maybe your A topics. What stuck out the most from game 2 today?
The A topic has to be that there was 3 base runners on the Minnesota Twins end for the entire game. After last night, a game that was, a very tough loss. Definitely, it was a bleeder, but it was close. They showed that they still had a little bit of gumption. It seemed like, but all of that seems to be forgotten. And, maybe that's the mindset that they're trying to have of, we're in a stretch right now where we're not having a lot of success. We need to come and take it one day at a time. However, it just feels like the momentum that they get from any sort of win or any sort of close game or a game where they score 6 runs even, it just gets erased. It gets shaken. The Etch-a-Sketch just gets sketched. Gets shaken out.
Yeah. I know in baseball especially, it's not like basketball where one guy can make just the world of difference and move the needle so much. But how much of a difference do you expect a guy like Royce Lewis to bring to the table? And is there any, maybe I'm a little out of the loop, is there any type of new updates as far as his ETA when he's going to return to the lineup?
Not a ton of new updates. I think the last one they gave was at the beginning of the homestand, and they were saying that he had just finished week 3 of what was usually maybe a 6 to 8 week recovery time period for this type of injury. They said that things were progressing well. I think he started hitting, started doing a few easier drills. So he's making his way back up. If we get the Royce Lewis that we're used to seeing when he comes back from an injury and instant jolts to the lineup, that will be excellent. But are we going to get the Royce Lewis that we saw in the second half of last year, who, maybe was battling, was out of gas or maybe working with some sort of injury? I don't know, but it depends which version of Royce Lewis we get. But if we get the one that everybody, is hoping for, that would be a huge boost for this team.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
This game was 2-0 going into the 6th inning. Again, anybody's ball game at that point. But what was the turning point, I guess, for you and your money? When and why, I guess, at this point?
I think usually I would say when those the 3rd and 4th run were scored there, but with how the team has been looking lately, it feels like a 1-run lead is insurmountable. It feels like they can't catch up to that, and that happened right away in the top of the 1st. So for me, just with where this club is at, that was the turning point for me in this game. And it's easy to say now that we know that they haven't scored any runs, but I'm hoping to see a different version of this club and hopefully have this turning point be something a little more traditional. But for right now, it just feels like any sort of deficit that they have is just a mountain to climb for them.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Chris Paddock, by the way, looked nice today. 5 innings, again, 2-hitter, 1 earned run, 5 Ks, 2 walks, 93 pitches on the day. How's his stock or trajectory right now, I guess? Which way is it pointing? And then just the entire rotation, right? The 5-man rotation. How have they performed up to this point compared to maybe the standards we put on them before the season started?
I think the starting rotation as a whole, they're performing, if the offense was even average, I think this ball club, the water level would rise massively because the pitching in large part hasn't been that big of an issue. They've had a few clunkers, they've had a few bullpen blowups, stuff like that. But it's really been this lineup that has sunk this ship so far. As for Chris Paddock, you're right. He did look better today. He looked better against the Astros last Sunday. I want to say he pitched, or Saturday. It was last weekend. He looked a lot better, but then kind of ran into some trouble right at the end of that outing. It was nice to kind of see him wrap up 5 innings completely before coming out of this one. So I would say that he's maybe not on the perfect course right now, but he's at least trending in the right direction as somebody who's probably your least relied upon starter at this point.
Yeah, and that feels right. That feels accurate for sure, especially after an outing like he had today. Plenty more deep dive than this one. We'll get into our nerdy stat of the day, and that's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. Right now, FanDuel is giving you a chance at a huge return, $200 in bonus bets now when you win your first $5 bet. Why I love FanDuel? When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you're placing your bets. Again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Get on some MLB future action while you're there. Twins plus 250 right now to win the AL Central. Maybe that's pretty good value this early in the season. Only 15 games in. Pablo Lopez 20-1 to win the American League Cy Young. But it's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the MLB. All right, nerdy stat of the day time. Don't want to put you on a spot. You got any crazy stat or fun analytic Twins related after this one?
I think there's an interesting kind of intersection that Byron Buxton and Matt Wallner find themselves in right now.
Okay.
Byron Buxton at this point of the season, still early, small sample size, but he's batting 0.45 with 2 strikes this season. So when another pitcher gets 2 strikes on him, it's almost an automatic out. Matt Wallner, on the other hand, who has been trending in the right direction, does not seem to be a major problem in this lineup. He's batting 318 with 2 strikes this season. That's 5th best in baseball. So hopefully Matty can rub some of that magic on Buxton and the rest of this lineup here, because right now he's one of the only guys who looks to have a pulse.
Who's a guy through these 15 games that has maybe struggled and you've watched, though, and said, you know what, I know he's struggling right now, but too early. I'm not worried about him. He's going to come around. And maybe who's one guy who's struggled and you sit there and watch him and say, I don't know, something just looks off right now. Something ain't right.
Let me start with the second one first. I'll start
Sure.
with negative. Mickey Gasper looks completely overmatched so far in his limited role that he's had with his club.
Yeah.
Not that he was supposed to be some cornerstone of the lineup or anything, but he was supposed to be a nice little tool for them to stitch in, with some platoon splits, maybe some pitch hit opportunities. And he's looked completely overmatched in his 20 at-bats that he's had so far. So I still like him a lot. Gotta love Mickey Pushbroom with that excellent mustache, but I think we might need to see that mustache in St. Paul for a little bit before coming back up. As far as somebody who I anticipate to maybe pick things up, it's easy to say Carlos Correa. He really has stung the ball pretty well. His batted ball metrics are looking pretty good. He's run into some bad luck. He's run into hitting the ball directly into the ground a lot. So hopefully he keeps hitting the ball hard and can kind of make those tweaks to his swing to get that ball in the air more. Because once that does happen, and he has had a pretty good week over the last 7 games or so. So hopefully the captain there can start trending in the right direction.
This is what you'll be talking about.
15 games in, we talked about this segment. We did the same bit last week. Doesn't feel like a lot's changed. If anything, things have only felt or gotten worse as we've watched this team.
Right.
But what's kind of like the water cooler talk, whether it's just after this specific game or just the overall kind of 10,000 foot aerial view vibe of this team? What's everybody texting right now in the Twins group chats tonight?
Oh boy, it's panic. Those chats are on fire completely. Yeah. But I think realistically, I've seen a lot of people anticipating maybe some reinforcements coming up at some point. Maybe that's somebody like David Festa last night, who had a pretty encouraging start. Zebby Matthews looks to be going in the next couple of games here. I'm excited to see what he has to offer. And eventually we're going to get some offensive reinforcements too. You mentioned Royce Lewis at some point. That's some star power. Brooks Lee, I'm anticipating maybe in the next week or so, hopefully. I don't think they've announced when he'll come back, but he's been playing in St. Paul and he's been looking pretty comfortable. So hopefully Brooks Lee comes up, and then you're talking about top prospects like Luke Keeschel and Emmanuel Rodriguez, who maybe at some point could be a factor here, and it might have to be sooner rather than later based on how things are going.
Keeschel hit a bomb. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
For the Saints in St. Paul, AAA. Keeschel stock seems to be pointing up for sure right now as well. Can you confirm that? Or
yes, I can confirm that. His stock is looking pretty good.
Love that.
I think his bat is pretty almost I would say pretty MLB ready. I think he's right there ready to go. I think it's a matter of getting some reps in the field since he missed so much last year while dealing with that elbow injury. So finding a defensive home for him, likely second base, maybe a little bit of third base or left field. But I think second base is probably his long-term home, and they might have a need there coming up pretty soon.
That's true. Well said. All right, don't go anywhere. Quick preview. Game 3 tomorrow versus the Tigers, and then you got the Mets, Braves, White Sox. They're all on the docket as well. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 10 million members to date now. For me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. And it's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season officially here. So it could be strikeouts. It could be RBIs, home runs, stolen bases, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. All right, game 3 tomorrow. Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound, 110 first pitch. Then you got the Mets at home, okay, for 3. But then you go to Atlanta, and then you got the White Sox back at Target Field anyway. I guess quick preview of game 3, SWR on the mound. And then when you look at the schedule just coming up, what's kind of the temperature on the Mets, on the Braves, the White Sox, I guess, as this Twins team just tries to build any type of momentum possible?
Yep, Woods Richardson coming off of a mixed bag start in his last go about there in Kansas City. He was looking pretty good through 4 innings or so, and then ran into a little bit trouble in the 5th. So, I don't anticipate him to be some big stopper for this rotation. He's not the ace that you're ready to finally take one after having this losing streak here. But at the same time, he's definitely MLB rotation caliber pitcher. I think that if his velocity is there tomorrow, it's going to be bones for him. I think it's going to be really excellent. But if he's still kind of tinkering with some things, or he has one of those big blow up innings, it could make for an unfortunate sweep. As far as the competition coming after that, I don't think the Twins are in any sort of position right now to be like calendar watching, because I feel like every series is going to be pretty vital until they start turning this thing around. Atlanta, one of the only teams with fewer wins than the Twins, though. So it's, if you're going to pay attention to an underachieving team like the Twins, you got to look at their opponents too. The Braves are certainly that at this point. Hopefully the Twins are not the team that puts them back on the right track.
We had the same conversation, and it was the same vibe, positive outlook, glass half full against the Astros when we played the Astros, because the Astros were struggling as well. And what did we end up doing? Losing 2 out of 3 versus the Astros. So
2 out of
maybe
3,
we're due. Maybe we're just due at this point.
We just might be. Maybe we're just waiting for that sunshine to break through in Minnesota and finally heat us up here.
Twins bats, they stay broken. they dropped game 2 at home versus Detroit 4-0, 4-11 now on the year. Huge shout out though to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Much appreciated. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go check out all of Sweet Lou's work on X. Again, it's at Sweet Lou MN. Plus all the work you're always ripping up over at zonecoveragemn.com as well. Anything new as of late we can go check out you've been working on kind of Twins related?
So tomorrow I'm going to be going to the Twins game for the unveiling of Joe Mauer's statue out in Gate 34 there. So I'd like to do something
cool.
Mauer-centric. I'm not sure exactly the angle I'm going to take, but definitely a reflection on our new Hall of Famer.
Favorite Joe Mauer stat, 3 strikeouts in his entire high school career. That was 9, 10, 11, and 12th grade. 3 strikeouts.
Crazy.
Crazy. Absolutely love it. Great stuff, man. Per usual. Love chatting it up with you, win or lose. Again, Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman on X. Give me a follow. Twins Tigers game 3. That's tomorrow. First pitch is 1:10 p.m. Again, Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. We'll see you right here, same time, same place. But until then, signing out.